Tonight, allow the noise of the day to fade away as we drift slowly, gently, back more than 60 million years to a sky ruled by silence, wind, and a graceful giant of the air. In this calm journey, you will meet Pteranodon, a magnificent flying reptile that glided effortlessly above ancient seas, long before birds ever touched the sky. As your breathing slows, you'll discover how Pteranodon flew, how it hunted, and how it survived in a prehistoric world shaped by time, water, and endless horizons. All told in a soft, soothing rhythm designed to help your mind relax and your body rest. If these peaceful wildlife stories help you unwind, take a gentle moment now to like the video, subscribe to Wildlife for Sleep, and softly tap the bell so you can return whenever you need calm, comfort, and quiet wonder. Before anything ever learned to fly, before feathers caught the wind, before shadows crossed the ground from above, the sky existed as an unused realm. It stretched endlessly over ancient land and water, vast, empty, indifferent. Clouds formed and dissolved without witnesses. Storms traveled across continents without being seen from above, and the air moved only for itself. For hundreds of millions of years, no living creature belonged to that space. Life remained bound to surfaces, to soil, to water, to the slow certainty of gravity. Down below, the world lived loudly in its own way. Forests rose and collapsed. Oceans expanded and withdrew. Species appeared and disappeared without memory or meaning. Nothing looked down from the sky because nothing could. To be alive was to be heavy, to be pulled downward, to accept that the air was not a place to exist but a boundary that could never be crossed. The idea of flight did not yet exist, not even as instinct, not even as failure. And yet, quietly, without intention, the planet was preparing something extraordinary. Bone by bone, cell by cell. Generation by generation, life began to change in ways no single organism could perceive. Limbs grew longer than they needed to be. Skin stretched into thin membranes where none were required. Bones hollowed themselves without losing strength. These were not attempts at flight. They were accidents that happened to survive. This is not the story of a sudden leap into the sky. It is the story of patience so deep it feels like stillness. It is the story of a creature that did not flap its way into existence, but drifted there through time. A creature that did not inherit flight from birds, because birds did not yet rule the air. A creature that learned to live where nothing else had lived before. This is the story of Pteranodon, a name carved into stone long after the last one vanished. A giant of the ancient sky whose wings once moved silently above oceans that no longer exist. Tonight, we will slow down. We will move gently through deep time, listening to fossils, to air currents, to absence. We will let the modern world fade until only wind remains, and above it, something vast, something weightless, something real. To understand Pteranodon, we must first understand a world without flight. For most of Earth's history, life existed in only two dimensions. Creatures moved forward and backward, left and right, but never truly up. Even when animals climbed trees or leapt from heights, they always returned to the ground. Gravity was not challenged, it was obeyed. The early Earth did not lack life, it lacked opportunity. Bodies were dense, bones were solid, muscles were built to push against resistance rather than lift away from it. Energy was precious, oxygen levels rose and fell unpredictably, and every unnecessary movement carried risk. In this world, the sky offered nothing of value. Food did not float there, shelter did not exist there, and survival could not be sustained above the ground. Yet evolution never stops experimenting. even when success seems impossible. Small reptiles began to change in ways that had nothing to do with flight, at least not at first. Limbs extended slightly farther than needed, fingers separated and lengthened. Skin formed thin connections between moving parts. These changes helped with climbing, with balance, with control during falls. They were useful. And usefulness is enough for evolution to continue. Over millions of years, those small advantages accumulated. Some creatures could leap farther, land more softly, survive falls that once would have been fatal. A few could glide briefly, not as masters of the air, but as visitors borrowing the sky for moments before returning it. These moments mattered. Each successful glide meant food reached, predators avoided, territory expanded. The planet itself was changing too. Continents breaking apart, coastlines stretching endlessly, shallow seas forming vast inland waters filled with fish. Wind patterns became predictable in places. Rising air near cliffs and shores created invisible pathways upward. The sky was no longer empty by circumstance. It was becoming empty by neglect. What followed was not a revolution, but a quiet transition. Creatures that spent more time near open spaces, near water, near wind, found themselves rewarded for lightness. Heavy bones faded from lineages that could not afford them. Structure became efficiency. Efficiency became survival. Without knowing it, life was rewriting its relationship with gravity. By the time the first true flying reptiles appeared, the sky was no longer forbidden. It was waiting. And somewhere along a long forgotten coastline, beneath a sun that warmed an unfamiliar world, the ancestors of Pteranodon were already alive, already changing, already becoming something the Earth had never seen before. The age of reptiles. The world that shaped Pteranodon was not hurried. It unfolded slowly, layer by layer, age by age. The age of reptiles was not defined by domination alone, but by endurance. Reptiles survived where others faded because they asked less of the world. Their bodies conserved water, their metabolisms tolerated hunger, their skin protected them from a climate that swung between extremes. Time favored those who could wait, and reptiles learned to wait well. Across the land, dinosaurs diversified into countless forms, some towering, some delicate, each filling a role shaped by environment rather than ambition. They walked through forests that would never fossilize completely, across plains that would later become desert, along coastlines where tides rose and fell without witnesses. They lived in a world unconcerned with legacy, a world that did not know it would one day be studied. Along those coastlines, another story was unfolding more quietly. Early pterosaurs lingered near open water, where fish moved close to the surface and wind was constant. Their bodies were built lightly, not for strength, but for balance. Long fingers stretched beneath thin membranes, creating surfaces that could catch air if only briefly. These creatures did not yet own the sky, but they had learned how to touch it. Flight at this stage was not elegant. Takeoff required height, a cliff, a tree, a slope. Landings were uncertain, sometimes painful. Yet even imperfect flight was transformative. From above, prey could be seen with clarity, predators with warning. Distance lost meaning when movement was no longer limited to the ground. The world felt smaller and safer. The Mesozoic climate encouraged this transition. Warm temperatures reduced the cost of maintaining body heat, making light bodies more viable. High sea levels created vast coastlines, endless margins where land met water, and where flight offered the greatest reward. Wind patterns along these coasts were reliable, lifting air upward in steady currents. The sky itself became predictable, and predictability is essential for survival. Over millions of years, pterosaurs diversified. Some remained small, darting between trees or skimming inland waters. Others grew larger, their wingspans expanding as confidence replaced caution. Bone structure evolved to resist stress while remaining hollow, strong yet fragile. A balance rarely preserved in the fossil record. Muscles reorganized, attaching to keeled breastbones that hinted at power without bulk. These flying reptiles were not birds, and they were not dinosaurs. They occupied a separate branch of the reptilian tree, one that would never lead to feathers or beaks. Their wings were skin, not plumage, stretched across elongated fingers rather than arms. Their flight was quieter, more gliding than flapping, more patience than force. As dinosaurs ruled the land below, the sky filled with shapes that moved almost without sound. Shadows passed across water, fleeting, indistinct. To anything watching from the shore, these creatures might have seemed unreal, like reflections that refused to stay still. But they were real, alive, and increasingly successful. By the late Cretaceous, one lineage would push this design to its extreme. Size increased not through recklessness, but through refinement. Wings grew longer without growing heavier. Bodies streamlined themselves for stability rather than speed. Heads lengthened, jaws adapted to fishing rather than tearing. And above the vast inland seas of what is now North America, a new form emerged, not hurried, not aggressive, but perfectly at home in the air. That form would later be named Pteranodon, the first true flyers. Flight did not arrive with celebration, it arrived with hesitation. The first true flyers did not rise confidently into the sky, they tested it cautiously. Briefly, as if unsure whether it would hold them. Their wings were not yet instruments of mastery, they were questions posed to the air. Could it carry weight? Could it forgive mistakes? Could it be trusted? For a long time, the answer was only sometimes. Early pterosaurs were shaped by compromise. Their bodies balanced the need for lift against the cost of movement. Wings provided opportunity, but demanded precision. A torn membrane could mean death. A misjudged landing could end everything. These creatures lived with constant risk, and yet, risk offered reward. Each successful flight expanded the world in ways no ground-bound animal could experience. What made them true flyers was not distance or height, but control. They could adjust wing shape in midair, alter their glide, respond to shifting wind. Their brains adapted quickly, processing visual information at speed, learning how to read invisible currents. Flight was not instinct alone. It was skill learned and refined over a lifetime. The structure of their wings revealed this intelligence. A single elongated finger supported most of the membrane, allowing flexibility rather than rigidity. Muscles along the arm and shoulder could tighten or loosen the wing surface, subtly changing lift and drag. Unlike birds, whose feathers act as individual control surfaces, pterosaurs controlled flight through tension, like a sail responding to wind. This made their movement quieter, smoother, almost effortless to watch. They did not flap constantly, because flapping is expensive. Instead, they soared. They waited for rising air for thermals formed by warm land or sunlit water. Once lifted, they could remain aloft for hours, covering vast distances without fatigue. These first true flyers changed how ecosystems functioned. They moved nutrients across regions, carried energy from sea to land, from coast to inland. They became predators of fish and insects. and prey to larger animals when grounded. Their presence connected environments that had once been isolated. Flight also changed perception. From above, patterns emerged that were invisible from the ground. Shoals of fish, movements of herds, changes in coastline shape. The sky offered information, and information meant advantage. Over time, those who flew better survived longer. As these early flyers spread, they encountered different conditions: forests, deserts, open oceans. Some adapted to maneuvering among trees, others to endless gliding above water. Natural selection pushed designs towards specialization, and specialization led to diversity. One branch favored size. Larger wings reduced energy cost per distance traveled. Larger bodies resisted turbulence, making long-distance flight safer. But size demanded lightness, and lightness demanded perfection. Only a few lineages could afford to grow without collapsing under their own mass. Among those few, one lineage would refine soaring flight beyond anything that came before. It would abandon teeth, streamline its skull, stretch its wings to proportions that bordered on impossible. It would not hunt with speed, but with patience. And it would spend most of its life not above land, but above a vast inland sea, trusting the wind more than muscle. The first true flyers made this future possible, not by leaping toward it, but by drifting slowly in its direction, one generation at a time. Naming Pteranodon. Long after the last wingbeat faded from the ancient sky, long after oceans withdrew and continents reshaped themselves, fragments of bone lay hidden beneath layers of sediment, waiting without intention. They did not know they would be found, and they did not need to. Time pressed down upon them slowly, turning flesh to memory, memory to stone. What remained was incomplete, delicate, easily missed. Hollow bones collapse easily under pressure, and many were lost forever before they could ever be seen. When humans finally arrived in these landscapes, they walked across ground that once lay beneath a shallow sea. The Great Plains of North America were dry, wide, and seemingly empty, yet beneath them slept the remains of an ancient world. In the 19th century, as railroads cut through rock and earth, fossils surfaced by accident, fragments exposed by erosion rather than intention. Among these fragments were bones unlike any seen before. They were light, fragile, shaped in ways that defied expectation. Some were impossibly thin, others elongated beyond reason. At first glance, they did not resemble dinosaurs, nor birds, nor anything familiar. Scientists argued quietly, then fiercely over what these remains represented. Were they reptiles, birds, or something entirely different? Did they walk, did they fly, or did they simply glide? In 1876, paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh gave these fossils a name, Pteranodon. The word came from Greek roots, pteron meaning wing, anodon meaning toothless. It was a simple description, but a profound one. Toothless flight suggested refinement, specialization. A creature shaped not for violence, but for efficiency. A creature whose survival depended not on tearing flesh, but on precision and patience. The absence of teeth was not a minor detail. Teeth are heavy, they require strong jaws. Powerful muscles, constant maintenance. To lose them was to shed unnecessary weight. Pteranodon replaced teeth with a long, pointed beak, ideal for grasping fish near the water's surface. This change alone hinted at a life spent mostly above open water, where wind was steady, and food was visible from the air. As more fossils were discovered, a clearer picture emerged. Pteranodon was large, far larger than earlier pterosaurs. Wingspans reached lengths comparable to small aircraft. Yet the bones suggested an animal surprisingly light for its size. The skull was elongated, crowned with a bony crest that extended backward, a structure that sparked debate almost immediately. Some believed the crest stabilized flight, acting as a counterbalance. Others argued it was purely for display, a signal to mates, a marker of identity. Over time, evidence suggested variation between individuals, possibly between sexes. This meant Pteranodon was not just a flying machine, but a social animal shaped by both physics and behavior. Naming Pteranodon did more than label a fossil. It marked a shift in understanding. Flight was no longer the domain of birds alone. The sky had been claimed earlier differently by creatures that solved the problem of lift in their own way. Pteranodon became a symbol not of dominance, but of elegance. A reminder that evolution does not repeat itself, it explores. Each new discovery refined the image, but never completed it. Fossils are conversations interrupted by time. They tell us what existed, but not how it felt to live. Still, through stone and structure, a presence emerged. A creature not imagined, but remembered. A name spoken across millions of years, quietly returning flight to the empty sky of human understanding. Fossils beneath Kansas. It feels impossible at first to imagine an ocean where wheat fields now stretch to the horizon, where dry wind moves through grass instead of waves. Yet during the late Cretaceous, this land lay submerged beneath a vast inland sea. The western interior seaway divided North America in two, a warm, shallow body of water that extended from the Arctic to the Gulf. Above this water, Pteranodon flew. When its body fell, whether through age, storm, or accident, it often landed on water rather than land. There it drifted briefly before sinking. Soft tissues disappeared quickly, claimed by scavengers and decay. But the bones, hollow and light, sometimes settled gently into fine sediment. In rare moments, conditions aligned perfectly. Oxygen was low, disturbance minimal, burial rapid. In those moments, flight entered the fossil record. Kansas became one of the richest sources of Pteranodon fossils not by design, but by geography and time. The chalk deposits formed from microscopic marine organisms accumulating slowly on the seafloor. These fine particles preserved detail with unusual clarity. Wings collapsed inward, skulls tilted, crests lay intact. The silence of the sea protected what the sky could not. These fossils were often found scattered, disarticulated, suggesting bodies that floated before sinking or were disturbed by currents. Rarely did an entire skeleton remain intact. Paleontologists learned to read fragments to reconstruct whole animals from partial truths. Each bone told a fraction of the story, and together, they formed something approaching life. What emerged was consistency. Pteranodon fossils showed little variation in body structure across time, suggesting a design that worked and needed little change. Size varied, crest shape varied, but the fundamentals remained stable. This was an animal well matched to its environment, not pressured to adapt further because it already fit. The absence of teeth became clearer in context. Fish dominated these waters, especially small schooling species near the surface. A long beak could skim, snap, and release water efficiently. Teeth would have slowed this process, added weight, increased drag. Pteranodon hunted not with force, but with timing. The inland sea itself was alive with motion. Currents carried nutrients upward, sunlight warmed surface layers, storms stirred the depths. These dynamics created rising air above water, invisible highways for soaring animals. Pteranodon did not need to flap constantly because the world lifted it. Kansas chalk preserved more than bones. It preserved a moment in planetary balance. Sea level, climate, wind, food all aligned. When that balance shifted, preservation stopped. Fossils are not records of abundance, but of circumstance. Pteranodon may have lived everywhere along ancient coastlines, yet only here did conditions remember it. Standing on dry land today, it is easy to forget the sea beneath our feet. But every fossil is proof that the world was once different and will be again. Pteranodon reminds us that environments are temporary, and survival depends on matching the moment. Anatomy of a sky giant. To understand how Pteranodon lived, we must understand how it was built. At first glance, its size feels contradictory. A wingspan stretching wider than a small boat, paired with a body that weighed less than a human. This balance was not accidental, it was essential. Flight at this scale demanded absolute efficiency, every unnecessary gram removed. Every structure refined to serve more than one purpose. The bones of Pteranodon were hollow, but not fragile. Internal struts reinforced them like the framework of a bridge, distributing stress while preserving lightness. These bones resisted bending rather than impact, because impact was something this animal avoided whenever possible. Landing was controlled, deliberate, slow. Falling was not an option. The chest was deep, anchoring powerful muscles responsible not for constant flapping, but for launching. Takeoff was the most dangerous moment in a pterosaur's life. Pteranodon likely used a quadrupedal launch, pushing off with all four limbs at once, converting stored muscle energy into lift. This method allowed even large individuals to leave the ground efficiently, without a long running start. Its wings were not arms in the mammalian sense, nor wings like a bird's. One elongated finger supported the majority of the wing membrane, stretching from fingertip to body, and down to the hind limb. This created a vast lifting surface, flexible and responsive. Small adjustments in tension changed the wing's behavior instantly, allowing fine control without rapid movement. The head was large, yet carefully balanced. The bony crest extended backward, countering the weight of the long beak. This alignment reduced strain on the neck during flight, keeping the center of mass stable. Whether the crest also served as display or recognition remains debated. But aerodynamically, it made sense. The neck itself was strong, yet not rigid. It allowed downward strikes at fish and subtle adjustments during flight. Vision was likely excellent, adapted to spotting movement against reflective water. From above, fish schools shimmered, visible to a hunter patient enough to wait. Legs were small, almost an afterthought. Pteranodon did not walk often, and when it did, it moved awkwardly. The ground was a place of vulnerability, not comfort. Everything about its anatomy suggested a life spent in air or over water, where its design made sense. Even its skin played a role. The wing membrane contained fibers that stiffened under load, preventing collapse while maintaining flexibility. Blood vessels regulated temperature, shedding excess heat during long flights. Nothing was wasted. Everything served flight. Anatomy tells us not just what an animal was, but where it belonged. Pteranodon belonged to open space, to wind, to long horizons. It was not built for forests, nor cliffs, nor crowded environments. It was built for the quiet expanse between sea and sky, the crest mystery. Among all the features preserved in stone, none has invited more quiet debate than the crest. It rises from the back of the skull, sweeping rearward like a silent signal frozen in bone. At first glance, it seems excessive, an ornament added to an already improbable design. Why would a flying animal, built so carefully for lightness, carry such a structure at all? Early interpretations leaned toward utility. The crest might have acted as a stabilizer, counterbalancing the long beak during flight, reducing pitching as air moved across the skull. In a world of constant wind, stability matters. Small shifts in balance can mean the difference between effortless soaring and dangerous loss of control. From this perspective, the crest was not decoration, but discipline. Yet the fossils complicated this idea. Crest size varied, sometimes dramatically, even among individuals of similar body size. Some skulls showed long, dramatic crests, others much shorter, reduced, almost modest. Aerodynamics alone struggled to explain such variation. Air does not reward inconsistency. If the crest were essential to flight, it would likely be uniform. This led scientists to consider another explanation, one rooted not in physics, but in behavior. The crest may have been a visual signal, a marker of identity, age, or sex. In many living animals, structures that seem impractical serve social purposes. They communicate fitness, maturity, or readiness to mate. They are costly, and that cost itself becomes a message. If Pteranodon used its crest this way, then flight was only part of its story. Above the sea, where individuals gathered, where nesting or mating may have occurred, the crest could be seen from great distance. Against the sky, it would silhouette clearly an unmistakable shape. Recognition would be immediate even in motion. There is also the possibility that both explanations are true, that the crest served multiple roles. Evolution often favors structures that do more than one thing. A crest that aided balance slightly, while also signaling strength or maturity, would be preserved easily. Nothing in biology is wasted if it contributes in more than one way. What matters most is not the final answer, but the restraint required to ask the question. Fossils do not explain themselves. They offer evidence, not intention. The crest remains a reminder that some aspects of ancient life will always remain just beyond certainty, not because science has failed, but because time has taken its answers with it. As we imagine Pteranodon in life, soaring above water, crest cutting the air behind it, we are reminded that animals are not just machines. They are participants in social worlds, shaped by interaction as much as environment. Even in deep time, even above empty seas, identity mattered. Bones built for air. The strength of Pteranodon did not come from mass, it came from architecture. Within each bone, unseen from the outside, was a network of internal supports, thin struts arranged to resist bending and torsion. This design allowed the skeleton to remain rigid under load, while weighing far less than a solid structure of the same size. It was not strength in the human sense, but strength refined for a single purpose. Bone density varied across the body. Areas that experienced greater stress, such as the shoulder joint and wing base, were reinforced more heavily. Regions that existed primarily to maintain shape, like parts of the skull, were lighter. This uneven distribution reflects a life shaped by force rather than impact. Pteranodon did not collide often. It resisted wind, gravity, and lift. The wing bones in particular reveal this balance. Long, narrow, hollow, they were vulnerable to sudden force, yet resilient under steady load. This suggests flight that avoided flapping against strong resistance. Instead, Pteranodon relied on gliding, allowing air to do most of the work. When flapping occurred, It was deliberate, measured, never frantic. Joint structure reinforces this interpretation. The shoulder allowed a wide range of motion, but not the rapid cycling seen in birds. This limited burst power, but conserved energy. Pteranodon was not built for short chases or sudden maneuvers. It was built to remain airborne for long periods with minimal effort. Even the bone's surface tells a story. Growth lines indicate steady development rather than rapid expansion. This animal did not grow explosively. It matured slowly, reinforcing the idea of longevity. A long life favors efficiency, not excess. Air-filled spaces within bones also aided respiration. While not identical to bird air sacs, they likely improved oxygen flow and temperature regulation. In flight, overheating is a risk. Pteranodon needed ways to shed heat while remaining aloft. Its skeleton helped manage this invisible challenge. Bones built for air are unforgiving of mistakes. A fracture could mean death. This vulnerability implies behavior shaped by caution. Pteranodon likely avoided storms, waited for favorable conditions, and chose launch points carefully. It lived in partnership with the environment, not in defiance of it. The skeleton we reconstruct from fossils is not just anatomy, it is philosophy. It tells us how this animal solved problems, how it traded power for grace, speed for endurance. It reveals a creature that trusted the sky and shaped itself to belong there. How Pteranodon took off. Flight begins with a decision, and for Pteranodon, that decision was literal. Launching from the ground or water was the most perilous act of its life. Every leap risked injury, every push could fail. Unlike birds, which can flap their way into the air from almost anywhere, Pteranodon required technique, leverage, and timing. It likely used a quadrupedal launch, all four limbs pushing simultaneously, converting stored muscular energy into lift. The hind limbs provided thrust. The forelimbs spread the wing membrane instantly, creating a lifting surface that captured air immediately. One miscalculation, a slip, a weak push, could result in collapse, broken bones, or even death. Flight demanded perfection before it began. The choice of takeoff site was critical. High cliffs, low waves breaking on the shore, any rise that allowed gravity to assist in initial lift would increase the chances of success. Open water was both refuge and risk, soft landing if failed, but unforgiving if currents or obstacles interfered. Pteranodon's behavior reflects an intimate knowledge of its environment, a silent partnership with wind and wave. Muscles, bones, and membranes work together like a carefully tuned machine. The pectoral muscles stored energy during the crouch, released it explosively, transmitting force along the wing to generate lift. Hollow bones minimized weight, reducing the energy required for launch. Even the tail may have acted as a stabilizer, subtly adjusting pitch as the animal left the surface. Once airborne, the danger was not over. Initial flight required balance and patience. Wings had to catch thermals quickly, small corrections in posture prevented stalls. Airflow over the long beak and crest could create turbulence. Subtle adjustments were essential. The animal's nervous system processed visual and proprioceptive information almost constantly. Small mistakes were fatal, large ones catastrophic. This method of takeoff also explains why Pteranodon avoided dense forests or cluttered landscapes. Open space was a prerequisite, a runway provided by nature itself. The animal was a master of the empty sky, but fragile on land. Takeoff was ritualized, precise, repeated hundreds of times in a lifetime, each success reinforcing survival. Understanding this launch teaches us more than technique, it reveals psychology. Pteranodon lived consciously within risk, aware in ways humans can only infer. Flight was not instinct alone, it was calculation, patience, a respect for forces greater than itself. Each moment before leaving the ground was a negotiation with gravity, with wind, with the unseen currents that had always existed. And once it succeeded, once the body left earth or water, there was silence. The rush of air became a companion, the body became weightless, and for hours, the animal belonged entirely to the sky. Flight without feathers. Pteranodon's mastery of the air did not rely on feathers, it relied on membranes. Thin, strong, and elastic, these wings stretched from elongated fingers to the hind limbs, forming a surface both flexible and responsive. Unlike a bird's feathered wing, where individual feathers adjust for lift and drag, the membrane functioned as a single, continuous sail, tensioned and relaxed by subtle muscular control. Every subtle shift changed airflow. Every adjustment conserved energy. Every moment aloft was a negotiation with invisible forces. The surface of the membrane was reinforced internally by fibers, collagen bundles, that resisted tearing, much like cables hidden within a modern sail. This gave structure without bulk, allowing the wing to flex under load and spring back without permanent deformation. Even the edges were reinforced, preventing rips that could compromise lift. Nature had solved a problem that humans struggle with, creating a surface both light and strong enough to carry massive weight across air. Control was as much neurological as physical. The brain processed signals from wing membranes, from joints, from vision, integrating each moment of flight into a continuous map of the world. Small movements, slight shifts in finger or wrist position, could redirect airflow, stabilize the body, adjust glide angle. Flapping occurred sparingly, only to gain altitude or correct drift. Soaring was preferred because it was efficient, because it allowed observation, because it minimized fatigue. Without feathers, temperature regulation posed a challenge. Membranes alone provide little insulation, yet Pteranodon survived long hours aloft. Likely, blood vessels within the wing helped dissipate heat, keeping muscles cool during extended glides. The body had adapted in multiple ways: skeletal structure, musculature, circulatory design, all tuned for life above open water and open air. The wing shape also dictated hunting style. Long, narrow, and tapered, these wings were optimized for dynamic soaring, riding rising air currents above the sea, skimming surface waters for fish. Speed bursts were brief, precision strikes were emphasized, each motion calculated to minimize wasted energy. Flight was not about show, not about chasing prey, but about patience, skill, and perfect timing. Gliding allowed Pteranodon to exploit resources inaccessible to ground-bound animals. Vast distances could be covered with minimal effort. Currents and thermals provided natural highways, and even inclement weather could be anticipated and used. From above, the animal had perspective, a window into the patterns of fish schools, tides, and wind shifts, a world invisible to most other life. This method of flight, without feathers, was radical, counterintuitive, yet supremely effective. It required more than wing shape. It required intelligence, sensory integration, and cautious calculation. Every takeoff, every glide, Every maneuver was proof that Pteranodon had mastered a domain empty for millions of years, the vast expanse between sea and sky. Wind, thermals, and soaring. Life above the inland sea was never still. Wind moved constantly, sometimes gently, sometimes violently, shaping the surface of the water and the course of every creature that relied upon it. For Pteranodon, understanding these invisible currents was not optional, it was survival. Air was not empty space, it was a medium of energy, a landscape as real and consequential as the land below. Thermals played a crucial role. Rising columns of warm air created by the sun heating the water and land allowed Pteranodon to gain altitude with minimal effort. By identifying and exploiting these invisible lifts, the animal could soar for hours, covering distances of tens or even hundreds of kilometers without flapping once. This was not simple gliding. It was controlled flight dictated by environmental intuition, learned behavior passed across generations through experience. Wind patterns along cliffs and open coasts created predictable channels. Pteranodon may have navigated these corridors routinely, timing flights according to weather, season, and feeding opportunity. A small miscalculation in speed, angle, or wing tension could send the animal into a dangerous spiral, but mastery of these forces allowed efficiency unimaginable to terrestrial creatures. Flight became not merely a way to move, but a way to exist, to occupy space where competition was minimal. Soaring above the water provided additional advantages. From hundreds of meters in the air, the surface became a canvas of movement. Fish schools shimmered like living mosaics. Predator shadows crossed the waves, currents hinted at concentrations of prey. The combination of height, vision, and patience created an unparalleled hunting strategy. Pteranodon did not chase, it observed, it calculated, it struck at the optimal moment. Even the wings themselves interacted with the air in subtle ways. Curvature and membrane tension allowed lift to vary across the wing, a natural adaptation for micro-adjustments during gusts or turns. Each minor alteration in flight posture, each twitch of the elongated finger, became part of a silent conversation with wind and gravity. It was a partnership, not domination. Storms were approached with caution. Rising air could be used to climb quickly or avoided entirely to prevent fatigue or injury. Pteranodon did not seek power in the storm. It sought balance, efficiency, opportunity. Its life was guided by observation, by patience, by understanding that the air itself had rules as immutable as gravity. Soaring was not effortless. It required sensory acuity, calculation, and perfect timing. Yet for Pteranodon, it was home. The inland sea beneath was a mirror of endless possibilities, the wind above a steady companion. To exist in this aerial world, to glide, hunt, and navigate successfully, was to become one with forces most other animals could never perceive, hunting over ancient seas. Above the warm waters of the inland sea, life pulsed quietly yet relentlessly. Fish schools moved in shifting patterns, currents guided nutrients, and subtle light changes revealed the presence of predators both above and below. For Pteranodon, the hunt was not a chase, it was a dance measured, patient, precise. Success depended not on brute force, but on timing, observation, and understanding the rhythms of the sea. The long, toothless beak was perfectly adapted to this task. Slender, pointed, capable of snapping at fish just beneath the surface without disturbing the water unnecessarily. The jaw could open wide to capture multiple prey items at once, yet its structure remained light, optimized for speed and efficiency. Each strike was calculated, the wings adjusting subtly, the crest stabilizing, the body balancing against invisible air currents. Hunting required altitude and perspective. From hundreds of meters above, the patterns of movement became visible. Fish clusters shimmered, shadows revealed predators lurking below, and subtle waves indicated turbulence in the water. Pteranodon would glide, scan, hover briefly, and strike only when conditions were perfect. Energy was precious, and waste could be fatal. Even the motion of the wings aided hunting. Adjustments in membrane tension allowed the animal to stall slightly, to pivot, to maintain a position above prey with minimal flapping. The act of hunting became intertwined with the act of flight itself. Wings and vision, body and air, all coordinated into a single, seamless motion. The inland sea was not empty. Other flying reptiles existed. Smaller pterosaurs darted between cliffs, competing for insects or small fish, while large marine reptiles patrolled beneath the waves. Pteranodon had to account for all of them, maintaining distance, timing attacks, and avoiding unnecessary conflict. Success was not just catching prey. It was surviving long enough to feed again. Night and day dictated different strategies. During calm daylight hours, thermals rose steadily. Flight was efficient, hunting predictable. During windier conditions, soaring became more demanding. Small errors could result in fatigue or injury. Pteranodon may have adjusted its hunting range, its altitude, even its timing, to match the subtle patterns of the environment. Hunting was not instinct alone. It was experience distilled over a lifetime, refined across generations. Observing air currents, fish behavior, and seasonal changes, each flight became a lesson, each success a reinforcement. The aerial landscape above the sea was complex, dynamic, and unforgiving, yet Pteranodon navigated it with the precision of an expert. Social behavior and mating, even in a world defined by wind and water, life was not lived alone. Pteranodon, like many large pterosaurs, likely exhibited social behavior that went beyond hunting. Fossil evidence hints at colonies, gatherings of dozens or even hundreds of individuals along coastal cliffs or islands. These were places where creatures could rest, nest, and interact, suspended between land and sky in fragile balance. Social interaction may have been subtle, signaled through movement, posture, and display. The bony crest, already remarkable for its size and shape, probably played a central role. Variation in crest length and angle could indicate age, dominance, or sex. Males may have displayed elongated crests to attract mates, while females chose partners based on subtle visual or behavioral cues. Communication was silent yet clear, conveyed in gestures and silhouettes, interpreted by those who shared the air. Nesting behavior required precision. Unlike many land-bound reptiles, Pteranodon could not afford missteps near water's edge or on unstable cliffs. Eggs were probably laid in clusters, buried or protected in shallow sand or sediment. Close enough to food sources, yet distant enough to avoid flooding or predation. Incubation relied on careful selection of nesting sites, sunlight, substrate, even wind conditions. The life of the young depended on these choices, and the survival of the species demanded success. Juveniles faced unique challenges. Their bones were less dense, wings less developed, and takeoffs more perilous. Learning to hunt, glide, and navigate the invisible currents above water took years, trial and error. Observation of adults, repeated practice. The sky was both classroom and stage, a realm of constant education, where mistakes were sometimes fatal but often instructive. Social hierarchy may have been subtle yet present. Groups likely congregated where resources were predictable and interactions shaped by experience. Displays, aerial posturing, and subtle changes in flight could communicate dominance, readiness to mate, or territorial boundaries. Even in flight, the smallest motion carried meaning. A tilt of the wing, a twist of the crest, a calculated adjustment that spoke volumes. These quiet behaviors remind us that life in the air was not only mechanical, it was emotional, relational, full of interaction and observation. Every movement served multiple purposes: survival, communication, energy conservation. Life above the sea was a delicate balance between self and group, between opportunity and danger, between patience and instinct, growth and development. Pteranodon did not reach its full wingspan overnight, nor did it mature in weeks or months. Growth was measured in years, slow, deliberate, shaped by the environment as much as by genetics. Fossil evidence shows that juveniles were smaller, with proportionally shorter crests and less robust wing bones. Each stage of life demanded adaptation. Each adjustment carried consequence. Young Pteranodon learned the air gradually. Initial glides were short. Jumps from low heights, flapping tentative and uncoordinated. The sky was a teacher, the body a student. Bone density and joint structure strengthened over time, allowing longer flights, higher altitudes, and more precise maneuvers. Failure was costly. A fall could fracture a fragile limb or expose the young animal to predators lurking below. Nutrition played a critical role in growth. Feeding relied on observation, timing, and access to fish-rich waters. Juveniles may have hunted smaller prey, foraged near safe shores, or shadowed adults to learn techniques. The ability to conserve energy during flight was refined over months and years. Wings grew longer, muscles stronger, the body lighter yet resilient. Sexual maturity came only after physical development aligned with environmental opportunity. Crests began to elongate, signaling readiness for courtship, signaling identity among the colony. Young males learned to compete, display, and assert dominance, often without physical confrontation, relying on flight, gesture, and observation. Females may have assessed not strength alone, but precision, the ability to navigate, hunt, and survive in the open air. The life cycle of Pteranodon reflects patience. Unlike animals that reproduce rapidly and abundantly, these creatures invested time in development. Survival depended on learning, experience, and skill. Each generation refined what the previous generation had learned. Flight, hunting, social behavior passed invisibly through observation, genetics, and instinct. This careful development was necessary for survival in an environment that demanded perfection. The inland sea was not forgiving. Storms could appear suddenly. Currents could shift. Predators could strike. Only those who matured slowly, who respected the sky, could endure. Pteranodon's long childhood was a preparation, a rehearsal, a guarantee that the giants of the air were capable of life above the water, above the wind, and above danger itself. Fossil evidence suggests that not all Pteranodon were created equal. Differences in crest size and shape hint at sexual dimorphism, a physical distinction between males and females that likely influenced social behavior, mating, and survival. Males generally possessed longer, more elaborate crests, while females displayed shorter, more modest structures. These differences were subtle yet significant, signaling reproductive readiness, dominance, and identity within the colony. The implications of sexual dimorphism extended beyond display. Larger crests in males may have enhanced aerodynamics during courtship flights, allowing intricate maneuvers or glides that demonstrated skill and endurance. Females, with smaller crests, may have prioritized efficiency over spectacle. Wings and bodies adapted to carrying eggs, traveling between nesting sites, and minimizing energy expenditure. Every morphological trait served multiple purposes: survival, reproduction, and social communication intertwined seamlessly. Dimorphism also influenced behavior within colonies. Males may have competed through aerial displays rather than direct conflict, flaring crests, adjusting wing posture, performing synchronized glides to establish hierarchy. Such behavior required coordination, spatial awareness, and an intimate understanding of air currents. It was not aggression for dominance's sake, but a negotiation of space and reproductive opportunity. For juveniles, these distinctions became apparent only as they matured. Young males developed elongated crests, slowly signaling gradual entry into the social structure. Females reached reproductive readiness while maintaining efficient flight mechanics. Survival, courtship, and reproduction were all carefully balanced by morphology. No feature existed in isolation. The fossil record allows glimpses into this delicate dynamic. Clusters of skeletons suggest nesting sites with mixed sexes, evidence of both mature males and females in close proximity. Variation in crest shape and size provides a window into behavior, into patterns of mating, display, and perhaps even social organization. The sky was a theater, and morphology was the script. Sexual dimorphism in Pteranodon reminds us that evolution does not prioritize spectacle for its own sake. Every difference, every elongated crest, every adjustment in wingspan served life, survival, and the continuity of the species. Nature rewarded those who balanced form, function, and behavior with precision, and the sky remembered those choices for millions of years. Predators and threats. Even masters of the sky faced danger. Pteranodon, despite its size and agility, was not immune to predators. Large marine reptiles, mosasaurs and pliosaurs, lurked beneath the waters it skimmed. A single misjudged dive or poorly timed strike could bring a predator snapping from below, teeth tearing through membrane, bone, and flesh. Survival depended on vigilance, on calculation, on understanding both the seen and unseen movements of the environment. Aerial threats were less common, but not absent. Other pterosaurs, larger or more aggressive, may have competed for territory, nesting sites, or food. Young or weak individuals were especially vulnerable. Predation was not merely a physical challenge, it was a behavioral one. Pteranodon had to master timing, altitude, and positioning, constantly reading the patterns of predators and prey alike. Storms and weather themselves were silent predators. Gusts of wind could destabilize flight, thermals could collapse unexpectedly. Sudden rain could saturate membranes, adding weight and reducing maneuverability. Even the sky had its hazards, forces that required attention and respect. Each flight was a negotiation, a careful application of skill to survive. The risk of drowning was ever present. Unlike birds, Pteranodon often hunted over open water, If it misjudged altitude or miscalculated a strike, it could fall. Hollow bones, advantageous for flight, were fragile upon impact. Water became both sustenance and threat, a domain of life and potential death. Social behavior may have mitigated some dangers. Flying in groups, observing each other's movements, learning from mistakes, these strategies reduced risk. Juveniles benefited from proximity to adults. Adults reinforced flight patterns, hunting techniques, and predator avoidance. Collective behavior was a form of survival, a network of quiet guidance and observation. Threats shaped every aspect of Pteranodon's life. Anatomy, flight patterns, hunting strategies, social interactions. Every adaptation, every gliding pattern, every careful takeoff was a response to the dangers inherent in its environment. Life above the sea was a constant dialogue between creature and predator, between air and water, between survival and extinction. Feeding strategies. Survival depended on more than flight alone. Pteranodon's feeding strategies were refined over millions of years. A blend of anatomy, observation, and patience. Its long, toothless beak allowed it to capture fish efficiently, skimming the water's surface or plunging slightly to seize prey. Precision was paramount. A failed strike meant wasted energy, and over time, wasted energy could mean death. The hunting style was adapted to its environment. The inland sea was shallow, abundant with small, schooling fish, ideal for a patient predator. Pteranodon likely observed the movement of water from above, noting currents, reflections, and disturbances that indicated prey presence. Gliding silently over the surface minimized disturbance, ensuring that the prey remained unaware until the last moment. Wing adjustments aided feeding. By tilting or twisting its elongated fingers, Pteranodon could hover briefly or shift glide angle, maintaining optimal positioning above schools of fish. Launching from higher altitudes provided momentum and perspective, while low glides allowed rapid, precise strikes. Each feeding attempt was an orchestration of air, body, and prey. Diet may have varied seasonally. Juveniles may have relied on smaller fish or invertebrates near safe shores, while adults could target larger fish farther offshore. Opportunistic feeding on carrion or small marine animals may have supplemented their diet. Flexibility was essential. The sea offered abundance, but also unpredictability. Energy efficiency was critical. Long flights above water required minimal expenditure, and every meal had to compensate for the cost of movement. Hunting was as much about strategy as skill, identifying prey-rich areas, timing attacks with thermals, avoiding competition, all while maintaining a balance between survival and energy conservation. Feeding was a quiet, continuous dialogue with the environment. Pteranodon was both hunter and observer, participant in a dynamic system of predator and prey, wind and water, life and death. Each strike was measured, each glide calculated, each day a repetition of skill honed over countless generations. Life cycle and reproduction. The life of Pteranodon revolved around more than flight and hunting. Reproduction was central to survival, a delicate, complex process that required timing, precision, and an understanding of the environment. Mating likely occurred in colonies near cliffs or coastal islands, locations offering safety for eggs and juveniles while remaining close to feeding grounds. Courtship was a subtle performance. Males may have displayed elongated crests during flight, performing maneuvers designed to demonstrate skill, endurance, and suitability as a mate. Aerial displays could be synchronized, steep dives, or soaring patterns visible across the sky, signaling to females without engaging in risky confrontation. Each display was both practical and social, a language of survival written in air and motion. Nesting required careful site selection. Eggs were laid in shallow depressions in sand or sediment, partially buried to protect against predators and environmental hazards. Unlike modern birds, parental care may have been minimal after laying, though proximity of adults suggests some level of communal vigilance. Young were vulnerable, relying on instinct, observation, and gradual development to survive their first flights. The incubation period demanded patience. Temperature, substrate, and even wind patterns may have influenced hatching success. In some species, repeated use of nesting sites over generations created colonies with stable conditions, allowing survival strategies to be refined over time. The connection between environment and reproduction was direct. Success depended on reading subtle cues from the surroundings. Juveniles faced an extended period of growth and learning. Wings lengthened gradually, bones strengthened. Coordination improved with experience. Flight lessons were dangerous. Errors could be fatal, yet learning was essential. Each generation became more skilled than the last, knowledge embedded in survival behaviors rather than conscious instruction. Reproduction was not merely continuation of the species. It was the transfer of skill, adaptability, and aerial mastery. Life above the sea demanded competence. And Pteranodon ensured that competence by integrating growth, observation, and instinct into every stage of its life cycle. Legacy was built not in strength alone, but in the precision and patience required to survive, hunt, and reproduce in a world defined by air, water, and wind migration and range. Pteranodon was not confined to a single shoreline or nesting site. Fossil evidence suggests it ranged across vast stretches of the western interior seaway. Following food sources, seasonal changes, and environmental shifts, migration was not merely movement. It was survival, strategy, and adaptation woven together over millions of years. Soaring efficiency allowed Pteranodon to cover extraordinary distances with minimal energy. Thermals rising from warm waters, wind channels along coastlines, and predictable weather patterns created invisible highways, guiding movement from feeding grounds to nesting areas. Each flight was both a journey and a lesson, the animal learning, observing, and navigating as it traveled. Patterns of movement were likely seasonal. During periods when fish schools concentrated in certain regions, Pteranodon may have gathered in large numbers, exploiting abundance efficiently. When food was scarce, gliding over open waters allowed exploration of new territories, sometimes hundreds of kilometers from familiar nesting sites. Such journeys demanded endurance, intelligence, and precision. Migration also influenced social behavior. Individuals may have formed loose groups during travel, taking advantage of collective observation, predator awareness, and guidance through unfamiliar areas. Flight efficiency was enhanced by spatial awareness, using the presence of others to identify thermals, currents, and potential threats. Cooperation was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet critical. Environmental factors dictated the boundaries of range. Storms could temporarily alter flight patterns. Tides and wind currents influenced hunting strategies, and geographical features like cliffs or islands provided rest and nesting opportunities. Pteranodon adapted to these variables, reading each landscape with instinct honed by generations of experience. Migration reinforced survival beyond immediate needs. By traversing distances, exploring multiple feeding grounds, and interacting with varied environments, Pteranodon reduced risk of local scarcity and maintained genetic diversity. Movement was not random. It was a carefully tuned response to ecological opportunity and danger. The role of Pteranodon in its ecosystem. Pteranodon was not merely a solitary flyer above the sea. It was an integral part of a complex and interconnected ecosystem. Its presence influenced fish populations, shaped predator-prey dynamics, and even affected the behaviors of other flying reptiles. Above the water, Pteranodon acted as both hunter and observer, participating in the delicate balance of ancient marine life. By feeding on abundant schools of fish, Pteranodon helped regulate prey populations. Its hunting was selective, striking where prey was accessible and abundant, reducing overexploitation while maintaining energy efficiency. This selective pressure encouraged schooling behavior among fish, altering their movement patterns and influencing the distribution of other marine life. The ripple effects of its predation were subtle, yet pervasive, echoing across the food web. Other pterosaurs and small marine reptiles occupied complementary niches. Pteranodon, with its large wingspan and soaring efficiency, dominated open water hunting, while smaller pterosaurs patrolled near cliffs and inlets, feeding on insects or smaller prey. This partitioning reduced competition and allowed multiple species to coexist. Even the smallest adjustments in flight height or hunting timing could shape the distribution of species across the seaway. Predators, too, were affected. Large mosasaurs and pliosaurs adapted hunting strategies to account for the presence of Pteranodon. Attacks from below were influenced by the patterns of gliding flight above, shadowing behavior, timing of strikes. The very existence of Pteranodon altered predation dynamics in subtle ways. The ecosystem was a network of observation, adaptation, and response, each participant influencing the others in a delicate dance of survival. Pteranodon may have also contributed to nutrient cycling. By consuming fish in one area and resting or nesting in another, waste and carcasses were distributed across distances, enriching sediments and influencing local productivity. In this way, even a creature of the air connected land and sea, predator and prey, movement and consequence. The life of Pteranodon exemplifies the interplay between form, behavior, and environment. Its adaptations were not isolated. They were responses to the broader ecosystem. Every glide, every hunt, every careful takeoff was part of a larger web of life, an invisible architecture of survival that bound the sea, the sky, and its inhabitants together. Fossilization and preservation. The story of Pteranodon's life is written not only in imagination, but in stone. Fossilization is a rare and fragile process, one that transforms fleeting existence into lasting memory. After death, the body faced immediate threats: scavengers, decay, water currents, and microbial action. To survive this stage, burial had to be rapid, protective, and fortuitous. The inland sea provided such conditions sporadically. When an individual fell into calm water or onto soft sediment, bones could sink slowly, becoming covered by fine chalk, silt, or sand. Low oxygen levels in the substrate slowed decomposition, preventing complete disintegration. Over time, minerals replaced organic material. Bones hardened, turning fragile structures into stone replicas of once living tissue. Preservation favored certain body parts. Hollow wing bones, despite their delicacy, were often found intact because their lightweight structure allowed them to settle gently. The skull, with its long beak and crest, sometimes remained articulated, providing crucial insight into anatomy and behavior. Other parts, especially small vertebrae or soft tissues, were less likely to survive, creating gaps that paleontologists would later strive to interpret. Fossilization also captured moments in life. Some skeletons show evidence of post-mortem drifting. Wings collapsed, skulls tilted, a snapshot of decay and sediment settling. Others reveal partially articulated remains, hinting at how the animal rested, fell, or interacted with currents. Even in death, the interplay between environment and organism shaped the story that stone could tell. The rarity of complete specimens explains why understanding Pteranodon took decades of careful excavation, observation, and reconstruction. Each fossil was a piece of a larger puzzle, a bridge across millions of years. Paleontologists relied on meticulous study, comparison with related species, and an understanding of physics, anatomy, and ecology to reconstruct flight patterns, behavior, and life history. Fossilization is both miracle and limitation. It allows us to glimpse creatures that have long vanished, yet it also conceals vast portions of their existence. What we know is only part of the story, a partial narrative written in mineral and time. Yet even in these fragments, the majesty of Pteranodon endures. A testament to life perfected for the sky paleontological discoveries, the story of Pteranodon's discovery is as much human as it is prehistoric. Fossils do not reveal themselves easily. They must be sought, uncovered, and interpreted with care. In the 19th century, as the western United States opened to exploration, paleontologists began encountering fragments of an extraordinary world buried beneath the earth. Kansas, with its chalk deposits, became the stage for some of the most significant finds. Othniel Charles Marsh, a pioneering figure in paleontology, was among the first to examine these fossils in detail. His work in the 1870s brought Pteranodon into scientific consciousness, giving it a name, classifying its features, and interpreting its likely behavior. The challenges were immense: incomplete specimens, fragile bones, and little context for flight mechanics. Yet through careful observation and comparison, Marsh reconstructed the first images of this toothless giant of the air. Subsequent discoveries expanded knowledge dramatically. Excavations along riverbanks, cliffs, and quarries yielded new specimens, some nearly complete, others partial, requiring meticulous assembly. Fossil preparation became an art form. Delicate tools removed surrounding rock without damaging fragile bones, while documentation ensured every detail was recorded. Over decades, museums and institutions acquired collections that allowed comparisons across age, sex, and geography. Interpretation evolved as well. Early reconstructions sometimes depicted Pteranodon with sprawling, awkward postures or grounded, clumsy stances. As understanding of flight mechanics, anatomy, and soft tissue structures improved, reconstructions became more accurate. Wings spread in dynamic glides, crests aligned for aerodynamics and display, bodies poised above water as if still alive. Each discovery refined the narrative, slowly transforming fragments into a story of life, movement, and survival. The human fascination with Pteranodon reflects more than science. It reflects imagination. These creatures challenged assumptions about the sky, flight, and evolution. They inspired illustrations, models, and museum exhibits, bridging the gap between academic study and public wonder. Every fossil recovered is a dialogue between past and present, a whisper of a world that existed millions of years before humans walked the same plains. Anatomy revealed through FOSSILS fossils do more than preserve shape, they preserve insight. Each Pteranodon skeleton tells a story of design, of adaptation, of life in 3 dimensions. The elongated skull, the slender beak, the sweeping crest. Each feature encodes purpose, function, and evolution. By examining bone structure, scientists can infer not just size, but mechanics, balance, and even hunting strategies. Wing bones provide some of the clearest evidence of flight adaptation. Hollow yet reinforced, they indicate gliding efficiency and load-bearing capacity. Articulations reveal the range of motion, how the elongated finger supported the membrane, how the shoulder allowed precise flapping during takeoff. Even-minute ridges and struts suggest where muscles attached, how tension was distributed, and how the animal controlled its wings in dynamic air currents. The skull offers equally compelling clues. Its shape, the balance of crest and beak, and the size of the eye sockets hint at sensory capability, prey detection, and aerodynamic function. Variation in crest shape among specimens suggests sexual dimorphism, social signaling, or even age-related development. By comparing multiple fossils, paleontologists reconstruct not only the skeleton, but also behavior patterns and ecological roles. Vertebrae and ribs illuminate posture and strength. The neck, surprisingly long yet resilient, allowed precise strikes at prey while maintaining balance in flight. The thoracic structure supported powerful pectoral muscles, optimized for the bursts of energy required for launch and control. Even leg bones, though small and seemingly inconsequential, reveal adaptations for quadrupedal takeoff and limited terrestrial movement. Fossils also hint at growth patterns. Bone histology shows that Pteranodon matured gradually, reinforcing the idea of a long developmental period where flight skill, hunting technique, and social behaviors were learned. Each line in the bone is a record of life, of energy expended, stress endured, and environmental challenges met. Through these skeletal revelations, the image of Pteranodon becomes vivid. Not merely a name in a textbook, not merely a distant fossil, but a living, dynamic creature. Its body is a map of function, a blueprint of air mastery, survival, and adaptation, preserved across millions of years in stone. Insights from modern technology. The story of Pteranodon is no longer limited to bones and fossils lying in museum drawers. Modern technology has transformed the way scientists study these magnificent creatures, revealing details once unimaginable. CT scans, 3D modeling, and digital reconstruction allow researchers to peer inside fossilized bones, to examine structure, stress points, and even probable muscle arrangements without harming the specimens. CT imaging reveals the internal architecture of bones in exquisite detail. Hollow spaces, internal struts, and bone thickness can be analyzed precisely, showing how weight was minimized without sacrificing strength. Subtle deformations in the fossil record indicate forces experienced during life, takeoffs, landings, or even mid-flight maneuvers. This allows paleontologists to simulate movement, to test hypotheses about flight mechanics in ways that were impossible a century ago. 3D modeling takes these insights further. Digital skeletons can be articulated, animated, and tested virtually. Wingspans and gliding angles can be measured, aerodynamic efficiency can be calculated, and the effects of different crest shapes on stability or display can be evaluated. By modeling air currents and wind interactions, scientists recreate the environment Pteranodon inhabited, translating fossil evidence into living behavior. Biomechanical simulations reveal energy expenditure, lift-to-drag ratios, and optimal hunting strategies. They provide insight into how juveniles learned flight, how adults conserved energy during long migrations, and how environmental conditions influenced survival. Pteranodon emerges not just as a static fossil, but as a dynamic organism navigating complex ecological and physical challenges. Even collaborative technologies like virtual reality and augmented reality allow students, researchers, and enthusiasts to interact with Pteranodon in its reconstructed environment. One can fly alongside it, observe hunting patterns, or examine skeletal structure from any angle. This integration of technology and paleontology bridges millions of years, transforming understanding from abstract knowledge to tangible experience. Modern technology has not only refined the image of Pteranodon, it has deepened appreciation for its elegance and complexity. Flight, social behavior, hunting, and survival can now be studied with precision. And yet, even with all these tools, some mysteries remain. The silent history embedded in bone and stone continues to challenge, inspire, and invite exploration. Predators of the sky and sea, even the masters of the sky, faced danger. Pteranodon, despite its size, agility, and aerial prowess, existed in a world filled with threats. Beneath the surface of the inland sea lurked massive marine reptiles, mosasaurs and pliosaurs, ambush predators capable of explosive speed. A single misjudged strike or miscalculated dive could mean death. Life above the water required constant awareness, precision, and respect for forces both seen and unseen. In the air, threats were fewer but still significant. Other large pterosaurs may have competed for feeding grounds, nesting sites, or social dominance. Aggressive encounters could occur during colony gatherings, especially during mating seasons. Social negotiation and display often replaced direct conflict, but even the slightest misjudgment in flight or behavior could result in injury. Pteranodon's survival depended on a combination of skill, experience, and instinct. Environmental hazards were silent predators. Storms, sudden gusts, or turbulence could destabilize flight, especially for young or inexperienced individuals. A strong crosswind could push an animal into dangerous proximity to cliffs or water surfaces. Rain could saturate wing membranes, adding weight and reducing maneuverability. Even the sky itself demanded respect. It was a living force that Pteranodon had to understand, anticipate, and navigate. Predation shaped behavior, flight patterns, and social interactions. Individuals learned to exploit thermals, soar above danger, and take off from safe locations. Groups may have provided additional safety, alerting each other to threats and sharing knowledge of predator presence. Life above the sea was a balance of opportunity and risk. Hunting and feeding existed alongside vigilance and survival strategy. Understanding predators illuminates Pteranodon's adaptations. Its hollow yet reinforced bones, precise takeoff techniques, and social strategies were responses to these challenges. Flight was not just a mode of movement, it was a defense, a survival tool, and a platform from which to navigate a dangerous world. Each predator encountered influenced evolution, behavior, and the very shape of life itself. Thermoregulation and metabolism. Life in the sky required more than wings and skill. It demanded mastery over the body's internal environment. Pteranodon, soaring above vast stretches of water under the scorching sun, faced the constant challenge of thermoregulation. Unlike birds, its membranous wings offered little insulation, yet the animal maintained muscle efficiency and endurance during hours of flight. Vascular adaptations likely played a key role. Blood vessels within the wing membranes and body may have acted as radiators, dissipating excess heat generated by muscle activity or absorbed from sunlight. Conversely, in cooler conditions, adjustments in wing posture could minimize heat loss, conserving energy and maintaining optimal internal temperatures. The interplay of circulation, wing structure, and environmental awareness allowed sustained flight without overheating or exhausting the body. Metabolism supported this lifestyle. Energy efficiency was paramount. Every joule expended in takeoff or maneuvering needed to be regained through feeding. Hunting strategies, gliding patterns, and social behaviors all reflected a balance between caloric expenditure and acquisition. Long-distance soaring conserved energy, while sudden bursts of flapping provided controlled lifts or rapid prey capture. Pteranodon's metabolism was finely tuned to this dual requirement of endurance and precision. Juveniles faced additional challenges. Developing muscles and incomplete bone structure required careful regulation of activity and rest. Learning to glide, take off, and hunt demanded energy management on a scale as critical as the adults' flight strategies. Growth and thermoregulation were intertwined, efficiency in one facilitated survival and development in the other. Environmental factors influenced thermoregulation. Sunlight, wind speed, and air temperature dictated flight altitude, hunting time, and migratory behavior. Pteranodon adapted, exploiting rising thermals for lift while avoiding overheating, and timing hunts to coincide with optimal thermal currents. This delicate balance demonstrates how physiology and behavior co-evolved, ensuring survival in a world where even a small miscalculation could prove fatal. Thermoregulation and metabolism were not passive processes. They were active strategies embedded in the anatomy, behavior, and cognition of Pteranodon. The animal existed in harmony with its environment, constantly calibrating its body to the demands of wind, sun, and water below. Survival in the air was as much about internal mastery as external skills. Juvenile learning and flight training, life for a young Pteranodon, began with cautious observation and gradual experimentation. Unlike instinct-driven hatchlings of many reptiles, juvenile Pteranodon required years to master flight. To synchronize wings, body, and air currents into the elegant glides seen in adults, The sky was both classroom and challenge. Every gust of wind, every thermal, every predator shadow was a lesson in survival. Initial attempts at flight were short, hesitant glides from low perches or shallow waves. Coordination was imperfect, wing tension uneven, balance precarious. Each failure carried consequences. A poorly executed leap could fracture fragile hollow bones or result in a dangerous water landing. Survival depended on repeated practice, careful observation of adults, and gradual muscle development. Parents and colony members may have played subtle roles in learning. Juveniles likely observed hunting patterns, takeoff techniques, and aerial displays. Social context provided opportunities for mimicry and instruction, indirect guidance in navigating air currents, thermals, and prey. Flight was learned as much from watching as from doing, a silent curriculum of observation, patience, and adaptation. Energy management was critical. Juveniles expended more energy during initial flights, yet insufficient caloric intake or fatigue could compromise growth. Careful balance between rest, feeding, and practice shaped development. As muscles strengthened and bones hardened, glides lengthened, maneuvers became precise, and confidence in the open sky increased. By the time a juvenile reached maturity, flight had become intuitive. Launching, soaring, hunting, and even social displays could be executed with minimal conscious effort. This extended period of learning ensured survival in a complex environment, prepared each individual for the challenges of predation, hunting, migration, and reproduction. Juvenile training was not mere trial and error. It was the foundation of mastery, endurance, and aerial dominance. Migration patterns and long-distance flight. Pteranodon was a creature of vast skies, and survival often depended on movement across great distances. Fossil evidence suggests that these magnificent flyers undertook migrations along the western interior seaway, traveling from feeding grounds to nesting colonies, and back with a precision shaped by evolution, experience, and environmental cues. Thermals, prevailing winds, and ocean currents created invisible highways that guided their journeys. By soaring along these predictable air currents, Pteranodon could conserve energy, traveling hundreds of kilometers without flapping extensively. Understanding these forces required not instinct alone, but observation and learning, a mental map of the landscape above water, refined over years of experience. Seasonal changes dictated timing and direction. Food abundance fluctuated with fish population cycles, temperature, and weather patterns. Pteranodon likely adjusted its altitude, speed, and even route to exploit these variations. Juveniles, learning from adults, acquired knowledge crucial for long-term survival, reinforcing the importance of social observation in migratory behavior. Migration also influenced social structure. Groups may have formed during travel, providing collective vigilance against predators, shared observation of favorable thermals, and guidance for less experienced flyers. The interaction between individual skill and group dynamics enhanced survival, creating patterns that repeated across generations. Environmental hazards shaped these migrations. Storms could disrupt established routes, thermals might fail to rise, and predator density could vary along the way. Each journey was a negotiation between opportunity and risk, requiring mastery of flight mechanics, energy efficiency, and situational awareness. These migrations were not merely survival tactics. They were lessons embedded in behavior, reinforcing the intelligence and adaptability that made Pteranodon a dominant aerial species. Fossil evidence of behavior. Fossils do more than preserve bones, they preserve whispers of life. In the case of Pteranodon, careful examination of skeletal remains, nesting sites, and associated deposits provides remarkable insight into behavior, social dynamics, and ecological interaction. Though behavior is ephemeral, these traces allow scientists to reconstruct moments in time, frozen across millions of years. The arrangement of bones within nesting colonies hints at social organization. Clusters of skeletons suggest communal nesting, adults and juveniles sharing space in relative safety. Variation in size and crest shape among these fossils provides clues about age, sex, and hierarchical structures. Social interactions were likely subtle, displayed through posture, spacing, and flight patterns rather than physical combat. Marks on bones reveal additional details. Microscopic analysis shows signs of stress and healing, indicating that some individuals survived injuries, perhaps from failed takeoffs, falls, or predator encounters. Patterns of wear in wing joints suggest repetitive flight behavior, long periods of gliding, and consistent takeoff strategies. Even these small details encode information about daily life, endurance, and adaptation. Fossils also reveal dietary habits. Stomach contents preserved in rare specimens show partially digested fish, confirming the hunting strategies inferred from wing and skull morphology. Bone isotopic analysis can indicate migratory patterns, feeding locations, and even climatic conditions experienced during life. Each fossil becomes a diary page, chronicling movement, behavior, and interaction with the environment. Trackways and sediment impressions, though rarer, add another layer. Footprints near nesting areas provide evidence of quadrupedal launch behavior and movement across surfaces. Such traces, when combined with skeletal evidence, illustrate not only anatomy, but behavior in 3 dimensions, a dynamic record of life above and near the ancient seas. Through these fossils, Pteranodon emerges not as a static figure in stone, but as a living, adaptive creature. Patterns of flight, hunting, social interaction, and survival are encoded in the minutiae of bone, sediment, and mineralization. The fossil record, though incomplete, allows us to glimpse a life lived in air, water, and constant negotiation with forces seen and unseen. Legacy and extinction. Every life eventually ends. And for Pteranodon, the skies of the Cretaceous did not last forever. As the western interior seaway receded and climates shifted, habitats changed, prey became less abundant, and ecological pressures intensified. Over millions of years, the giant flyers that once ruled the air gradually disappeared, leaving behind only fossils and stories embedded in stone. Extinction was not sudden for Pteranodon. It was a gradual process influenced by environmental transformation. Rising sea levels, changing temperatures, and the evolution of new predators and competitors created challenges too complex for even the most perfectly adapted flyer. Their sophisticated aerial strategies, social structures, and hunting techniques could not compensate for long-term ecological shifts. Yet Pteranodon's legacy endures. Fossils preserved in chalk deposits across North America provide an enduring window into a lost world. Every skeleton, every crest, every hollow wing bone reveals lessons about flight, adaptation, and survival. Paleontologists, using modern technology and meticulous observation, continue to decode these ancient signals, reconstructing the life of an animal that dominated the skies with elegance and precision. Beyond science, Pteranodon inspires imagination. Its toothless beak, sweeping crest, and enormous wingspan evoke awe, curiosity, and wonder. Illustrations, museum exhibits, documentaries, and digital reconstructions bring this extinct giant to life, connecting us to a world millions of years removed, yet deeply fascinating. Through study and imagination, Pteranodon's presence continues to soar in human minds. Extinction is not merely an end, it is a transition. Pteranodon's disappearance opened ecological niches for other species, reshaped food webs, and influenced the evolution of both marine and aerial life. Its story reminds us that survival is a delicate balance between adaptation, opportunity, and environmental change, and that even the most extraordinary creatures are subject to forces beyond their control. In studying Pteranodon, we learn about resilience, ingenuity, and the beauty of life perfected for the skies. From hatchling to master glider, from predator to prey, from life to fossil, every chapter of its existence offers insight. Its legacy is written not only in stone, but in the curiosity, discovery, and imagination it continues to inspire. The story of Pteranodon is a story of life above the waves, mastery of the air, and the eternal dialogue between creature and environment. Though extinct, it remains a symbol of adaptation, elegance, and the boundless possibilities of evolution. And in the quiet observation of its fossils, in the soaring of our imagination, Pteranodon flies on. As the sun sets over the ancient seaway, the silhouette of Pteranodon glides across the sky, a reminder that life, adaptation, and the pursuit of survival are timeless. Though it vanished millions of years ago, its story endures in the fossils it left behind, in the skies we imagine, and in the unending human fascination with the creatures that once ruled the air. If this journey brought you a sense of peace, you're warmly invited to like the video, subscribe, and leave a gentle comment below. Or simply allow the next Wildlife for Sleep story to carry you deeper into rest. Sleep softly, breathe slowly, and know that another calm journey through nature's past is always waiting for you.